So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose.
Something that was promised around a year ago has actually turned up. It's 50 Cent's Diddy documentary. It's 4 parts, 4 hours long, and it's a walk through Diddy's life.
Person that the you of then was on a path of self-destruction. Do you feel that you were self-destructing?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark.
50 Cent just dropped the most shocking documentary of 2025, Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, and it blew up the internet overnight. It hit Netflix in early December, and from the first few minutes, viewers knew this wasn't your regular hip-hop doc. The footage was raw, the accusations were heavy, and the timing couldn't be crazier. Diddy was literally sitting in a Brooklyn jail cell waiting for trial while the whole world watched. But here's the twist. Netflix didn't show it all.
50 Cent has been working on this documentary for almost 2 years. The footage he has is insane. The people he got speaking about Diddy is ridiculous.
Some stories were way too dangerous to air. Some witnesses were too scared to talk. And a few wild allegations popped up right after the film dropped. It's like the release cracked open a vault of secrets that had been locked up for decades. So today, we're breaking down the missing scenes. The stuff Netflix refused to touch because it raised way too many questions. What was too hot for streaming? What got buried before the credits rolled? Let's find out. Picture this, March 9th, 1997, Los Angeles. Biggie had gone from a Brooklyn hustler to hip-hop royalty.
Did they talk about the man who nutted on his nipples?
I didn't hear the nut on the nipples.
50 was not about to put that
did not talk about the nut on the nipples, but they do have jurors in there that
He
talk
should have
about...
put that after the sanitizer part.
But the energy in the city was tense. Tupac had been gone just 6 months and the streets were still buzzing with fear and revenge. Rumors flew everywhere. Shadows held secrets and everyone in the game knew LA wasn't safe. Biggie was in LA promoting Life After Death, his second album that was about to take over the charts. He had interviews lined up, parties to attend, and appearances booked everywhere. His schedule was non-stop. And that night, even with the tension thick in the air, he still pulled up to a Vibe magazine party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Some said he showed up out of pride. Others said it was just business. But either way,
early this morning in Los Angeles, the 24-year-old rapper whose real name is Christopher Wallace lived in Raleigh in the 1980s.
FBI agents are looking for a man they say could. Both communities are mourning the death of the rapper known as Notorious B.I.G.
Biggie wasn't the type to hide. Then, tragedy struck. On his way back to the hotel, his SUV rolled up to the corner of Wilshire and South Fairfax. And that's where everything changed. Out of nowhere, shots rang out. 4 bullets tore through the vehicle. One hit was fatal. Biggie was gone before the city even had time to breathe. Just like that. Another legend lost, another brutal page written in the East Coast versus West Coast feud. The streets went silent, but the whispers didn't stop. Now here's where things get even crazier. Netflix didn't show the hidden side story from that same night involving Mase. While Biggie's murder grabbed every headline, Mase was reportedly locked inside a hotel room surrounded by nearly 70 Bloods. No exaggeration, he was trapped, scared, and completely cut off. People close to the scene started whispering that Mase might have been a second target that night, and that changes everything. Why was Mase in that terrifying situation? Because he supposedly had receipts, inside info about Bad Boy's darkest secrets that nobody wanted exposed. He couldn't just walk out, couldn't make a call, and not a single person from the crew came to check on him. It was pure chaos. Every man for himself. Eventually, former Bad Boy security guard Gene Deal had to fight through the madness and get Mase out before things went completely off the rails. That night changed Mase for good. He saw how loyalty could vanish in seconds, how the same people who once called you family could disappear when things got dangerous. That betrayal burned deep, and he never forgot it. Years later, Mase finally spoke about what really went down that night in LA. He dropped hints about the chaos behind the scenes, the tension, the fear, the hidden truths Netflix didn't dare touch. He mentioned receipts and secrets about power moves inside the Bad Boy empire.
I actually was trapped in a hotel. It was about probably like 70 or so Bloods in the hallway. I couldn't even leave my room.
The kind that could have flipped the whole story everyone thought they knew. But just when people thought the drama was over, things exploded again. Only one day after 50 Cent's documentary hit Netflix, the hip-hop world was rocked like never before. On December 8, 2024, a shocking lawsuit surfaced that could have completely rewritten everything the doc had just revealed. A woman identified only as Jane Doe amended her existing lawsuit against Diddy, and this time, she dropped another huge name, Sean Jay-Z Carter. The legal filing claimed that both Diddy and Jay-Z assaulted her when she was just 13 years old, allegedly at an MTV Video Music Awards after-party back in 2000. The internet went wild. People were stunned, confused, and demanding answers. These weren't just random accusations. This was a direct hit at two of the most powerful names in hip-hop history. The story spread faster than wildfire, shaking the industry from top to bottom. And Netflix stayed completely silent. Stop and really think about this for a second. This wasn't just some small-time accusation.
A woman who accused the two hip-hop artists of sexual assault when she was 13.
We're talking about two of the biggest names in hip-hop being accused of something so shocking it had the whole world gasping. And the timing, absolutely unreal. The documentary dropped just one day before the lawsuit hit the headlines. If that case had surfaced even a week earlier, it could have completely flipped the entire story 50 Cent had just unleashed on Netflix. Jay-Z didn't waste any time firing back. He called the allegations idiotic and slammed the attorney, Tony Busby, accusing him of trying to shake down celebrities for money. He made it clear. He thought the entire thing was a publicity stunt, nothing more than legal theatrics meant to grab headlines. Meanwhile, Diddy kept quiet, but people couldn't ignore the history between the two. Diddy has always called Jay-Z his brother, a bond built on years of respect, loyalty, and power. That connection runs deep.
Diddy and Jay-Z denying any wrongdoing, Jay-Z calling the allegations frivolous, fictitious, and appalling.
Two moguls at the top of the game, tied together by money, influence, and decades of shared dominance in the industry. It's like watching two kings stand side by side while the castle around them starts to crack. But here's the real twist. This story was too hot even for Netflix. It was too big, too explosive, and could have sent the entire hip-hop world into meltdown. So what did Netflix do? They cut it. They played it safe, leaving one of the most jaw-dropping chapters of the saga sitting in the shadows. And that's exactly where things start to get even more interesting. Busby, the lawyer at the center of all this chaos, isn't new to the spotlight. This guy has a track record of hitting Diddy with high-profile lawsuits and stirring up major controversy. So when Jay-Z's name suddenly popped up in the legal papers, it didn't look like some random twist. It felt like a calculated move, a straight-up escalation that the Netflix doc never saw coming.
What's that? That's Mob King?
Nigga feeling marvelous.
They gotta get the shoes though. Y'all know what it is.
The timing was wild. Just one day after the documentary dropped, the entire story flipped overnight. Viewers who had just finished watching the doc had no idea that the real-life drama had already shifted into something way darker and way more unpredictable. That's what makes this whole situation so crazy. It forces you to step back and ask, how much of the real story ever makes it to the screen? The backroom chaos, the risky secrets, the danger. That's the stuff Netflix left out. And by doing that, they cut out one of the most explosive chapters in the saga, the story of Jay-Z, Diddy, and Jane Doe. That twist alone could have changed how the entire world saw the bad boy empire. But that wasn't the only missing file. Netflix skipped over another name that's just as important, Kim Porter. Her story never made it into the final cut, but her connection to Diddy runs straight through every corner of the bad boy legacy. Kim wasn't just an ex, she was the mother of his children, a longtime partner, and someone who witnessed everything behind the empire's polished front. She saw the highs, the power moves, the secrets, all of it. And when you look at what happened before her death, you start to understand why Netflix might have stayed away. Kim Porter passed away unexpectedly on November 15, 2018. And while the official cause was listed as pneumonia, people close to her said her final days were anything but normal. The whispers, the tension, the unanswered questions, it all hinted at something much bigger hiding beneath the surface. Just weeks before her passing, Kim Porter made what would unknowingly become one of her final public appearances, walking the red carpet beside Diddy at the Netflix premiere of The Holiday Calendar, a film starring her son, Quincy Brown. Reports say Kim wasn't feeling well at all. She had severe flu symptoms and a fever that hit over 102 degrees. But despite that, she showed up anyway. And sources say Diddy, ever focused on image and appearances, allegedly pushed for her to be there. Under the cameras and flashing lights, everything looked perfect. A picture-perfect family moment. Quincy stood proudly in the middle, his twin sisters flanking him on each side. Diddy at the front, and Kim smiling softly, though you could tell that smile was strained. Her health was fading, but appearances had to be kept. The show had to go on. But behind that flawless Hollywood image, there was more brewing. Kim had reportedly been thinking about writing a tell-all book, one that could have pulled back the curtain on life inside the music industry and what really went down behind closed doors. Some of her friends said it was just meant to be a book about raising grounded kids in a crazy world, but fans online weren't buying that. They speculated that Kim had seen things Diddy definitely wouldn't want out in public. Her history with Diddy was complicated and full of ups and downs. They met in 1994, had their first child in 1998, broke up when Diddy started seeing Jennifer Lopez, then reconciled later and had twins in 2003. But by 2007, it all fell apart again. After news surfaced about Diddy fathering a secret child with another woman in his circle. Even with all that, Kim remained an important part of the family. They co-parented, stayed connected, and kept the peace for the kids. But there were darker chapters too. During one of their breakups, Kim started seeing Shakir Stewart, a Def Jam executive, a move that reportedly stirred serious tension behind the scenes. Reports claim that one of Kim Porter's darkest moments came after a brutal fight with Diddy. Sources say things got physical and she ended up with a broken nose. Months later, tragedy struck again when Shakir Stewart, the Def Jam executive Kim had been seeing, died from what was ruled a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But whispers in the industry suggested there might have been more to that story than anyone was willing to admit. These details painted a far more complex picture of Kim's life, one Netflix completely left out. In her final days, Kim's main concern was her children. Even while she battled what was reported as the flu, she was focused on protecting them. She sent them to stay at Diddy's house while she tried to recover. Then, just 3 days before she passed, she made one final call. She told Diddy, "Take care of them." Those would become some of her last words. But while Kim Porter's heartbreaking story never made it into the Netflix documentary, another missing piece might be just as explosive. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard. This man isn't just any insider. He lived through the height of the Bad Boy Records era, and he's been spilling the kind of details that make people sit up and question everything. If you've ever gone down the rabbit hole of Diddy's history online, you've definitely seen Gene Deal's interviews. For years, he's been exposing what he calls the dark side of Diddy, the version of the mogul the public was never supposed to see. And none of that made it into 50 Cent's Netflix project. Gene was there when Biggie was alive, when Puff Daddy ruled the industry, when the label was unstoppable. He witnessed the wild parties, the endless studio nights, the business power moves, the loyalty, the betrayals, all the chaos that came with life inside the empire. And unlike most, he hasn't kept quiet. His interviews have racked up millions of views, spreading across YouTube and podcasts like Anything Goes with James English. He's even teamed up with other insiders to discuss secret tunnels, bizarre rituals, and alleged underground practices hidden in the music world's shadows. But if you watch 50 Cent's Netflix documentary closely, you'll notice something strange. Gene Deal, the man who's been publicly speaking for years, isn't there. Not a single appearance, not a single quote. Nothing.
Early that morning, when Puff had got on a plane and left Mase, we went and got him and let him meet some dudes from Black Hands. We went and got Mase. Mase came down, went to his car, and he got up out of there.
Gene Deal was completely cut from the Netflix documentary. Not one clip, not one mention, nothing. And that silence speaks volumes. Why was he missing? Because his stories are too intense, too controversial, and way too risky for a platform like Netflix to even try verifying. Gene isn't out here spreading gossip. He's talking about things that sound straight out of a thriller. Stories involving alleged occult rituals and moments that defy logic. One of Gene's most infamous claims takes us back to 1999, right before Diddy's nightclub shooting trial. According to Gene, Diddy was terrified he might get convicted. So he took Gene to Central Park late one night to meet a mysterious man who supposedly performed rituals. What Gene says happened next is wild, the kind of story that makes your jaw drop. He says Diddy dropped to his knees while the man lit up smoke, waving it around and burning something, maybe sage or incense, all while chanting. Then, the man brought out a small white bird in a cage. Gene claims the man told Diddy he had to take part in a ritual meant to protect him from conviction. After it was done, they supposedly went straight to court to hear the verdict. And here's the thing, Gene Deal has never backed down from that story. He's told it again and again, always with the same exact details. The same spot in Central Park, the same outfit Diddy wore, even the same time of day. He doesn't sound like someone chasing attention. He sounds like a man who witnessed something that's haunted him ever since. But Netflix, they steered clear of all that. Because honestly, how do you fact check an alleged animal ritual in Central Park from 25 years ago? You can't. And that's exactly why Gene's stories stay in the shadows. They're too dark, too hard to prove, and way too explosive for the mainstream to handle. Millions of people have already heard Gene Deal's stories, not on Netflix, but on YouTube, where his interviews have exploded across the internet. Fans can't get enough of his behind-the-scenes revelations, each one painting a version of Diddy that no official documentary has ever dared to touch. And make no mistake, Gene Deal isn't some random dude chasing clout. He was there, working for Diddy for years, witnessing the rise and chaos of an empire that still dominates hip-hop to this day. But when it comes to Netflix, some stories are just too wild to risk, too controversial, too dark, and too unpredictable to put on a global platform. That's why the world never saw this chapter in 50 Cent's documentary, even though it's been viewed and debated millions of times online. It's like the ultimate deleted scene, the kind of story that lives only through whispers, interviews, and the memories of someone who actually stood in the middle of it all. Kim Porter's tragedy, left out, Gene Deal's wild Central Park ritual story, gone. But there's one more file Netflix completely avoided. And this one takes everything to a whole new level. We're talking about Justin Bieber. Yes, that Justin Bieber, the pop superstar who once called Diddy a mentor. And if you thought 50 Cent's documentary was already explosive, this next part takes things way past that line. Back in November 2009, Bieber was just 15 years old, a small-town Canadian kid fresh off YouTube fame, still singing covers in his bedroom and dreaming of stardom. Then suddenly, Diddy posted a video on his official YouTube channel titled Justin Bieber, 48 Hours with Diddy. What happened in those 2 days became one of the most talked about and most mysterious at moments in Bieber's early career.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose.
The footage looked innocent enough at first glance, but fans have been dissecting it for years, wondering what really went down behind the cameras. At first glance, the clip looks like just another celebrity hangout, a fun moment between a music mogul and a rising star. Diddy laughs into the camera and says he's got custody of Bieber for the next 48 hours, calling it every 15-year-old's dream, and promising they're about to have the time of their lives. But then he says something that instantly makes you freeze. Where we're hanging out and what we're doing, we can't really disclose. Think about that for a second. You're 15 years old, hanging out with one of the most powerful figures in music, and he's openly saying that what you're doing together can't be talked about. That's not normal mentorship. That's straight up strange. It sends chills down your spine just hearing it. In the video, Bieber smiles like any kid would, starstruck and excited. But now, knowing everything that's come out since, that smile feels different. The way Diddy talks about him feels unsettling, almost like he's showing him off instead of guiding him. It's uncomfortable to watch now because in 2009, Bieber was brand new to fame, young, impressionable, and suddenly swept into the orbit of one of hip-hop's most dominant forces. Fast forward to 2024, and Diddy's arrest brings all those old clips back into the spotlight. That same video resurfaces, and the internet goes into overdrive.
Person that the you of then was on a path of self-destruction. Do you feel that you were self-destructing?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. Very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying, that's what I want.
Fans rewatch it and flood the comments with disbelief, calling it creepy, predatory, and disturbing. Some even say the vibe feels more like a horror movie than a celebrity weekend. It's wild to see how something that once seemed harmless now hits completely differently, like the clues were there all along, hiding in plain sight. Then, in May 2025, Justin Bieber finally broke his silence, and his statement shook the internet. Through his rep, Bieber made it clear, although Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims, there are individuals who were genuinely harmed by him. That single line set the world on fire. Bieber was saying he personally wasn't a victim, but he was also confirming that others were. The wording was careful, controlled, and strategic, yet it raised way more questions than it answered. What really happened during those mysterious 48 hours with Diddy? Why did Diddy say they couldn't disclose where they went or what they did? And if everything was innocent, why did that old video feel so unsettling that Bieber had to publicly address it years later? Netflix didn't go near this story, not a single mention. Maybe because Bieber denied being harmed, or maybe because the whole situation was too risky to touch without legal fallout. But the fact remains that 48 Hours with Diddy clip is still one of the most watched and most analyzed pieces of Diddy-related footage on the internet. Everyone's seen it, everyone's talking about it, and yet it's completely absent from 50 Cent's explosive Netflix doc. But we're not done yet, because the next story takes things even deeper. Let's talk about Usher. What went down between him and Diddy is one of the most unsettling stories in Diddy's entire history, and Netflix barely mentioned it. Back in the early 1990s, Usher was just 13 years old when his family made a life-changing decision. They sent him to live with Diddy for a whole year. It was called Puffy Flavor Camp, and the concept sounded innocent enough at the time.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
Diddy would mentor the young star, show him how to navigate fame, and shape him into the next big R&B sensation. But what actually went on during that year? That's where things start to get disturbing, and Netflix completely sidestepped it. But the truth behind that so-called mentorship was anything but simple. Think about it. A 13-year-old kid living full-time with a grown man who was already running a major record label, throwing wild parties, and living a lifestyle that most adults couldn't even keep up with. That's not normal mentoring. That's chaos waiting to happen. Usher himself has said that year was wild and crazy.
But these are places that a 13-year-old probably should not be.
Admitting he saw things no 13-year-old should ever be exposed to. What was supposed to be guidance turned into a front-row seat to an adult world that he had no business being part of. By the time Usher turned 15, his surroundings were out of control. He was constantly around parties, women, drugs, and explicit situations, not once in a while, but every single day for nearly a year.
There to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. It was pretty wild. That there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand.
It wasn't about learning the music business anymore. It was survival in a scene that could have completely derailed him before his career even began. Years later, when Howard Stern asked Usher if he'd ever send his own kids to something like Puffy Flavor Camp, Usher didn't even pause before answering. Hell no.
Crazy.
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
That one response said it all. He made it out, turned his pain into power, and became one of the most successful R&B icons in the world. A Grammy winner, a legend. But even with all that success, one thing's clear. He'd never let his children go through what he did in that house. After Diddy's shocking 2024 arrest, fans began digging, and they noticed something strange about Usher. Out of nowhere, Usher's entire Twitter account disappeared. Every single post wiped clean. People online went wild with theories. Was he trying to distance himself from Diddy? Was he scrubbing evidence? Or maybe he was just done being bombarded with questions about his past connection to the mogul? Whatever the reason, it didn't go unnoticed. Netflix barely mentioned any of this. Maybe a quick clip from Usher's early days, maybe a passing name drop, but nothing that really dug into what happened during that Flavor Camp year. And that silence feels deliberate, because when you step back and look at Usher, Justin Bieber, and other young stars who came up under Diddy's watch, a pattern starts to form. One the documentary clearly didn't want to touch. Usher's story alone shows the reality. A kid thrown way too early into an adult world, surrounded by things no teenager should ever be around. And instead of exploring how that shaped him, Netflix left it sitting on the cutting room floor, never giving viewers the full picture. But then, there's an even stranger twist, one that had people online completely confused. It's the Ava Baron situation, one of the most unusual Diddy-related stories to ever surface. In 2020, a video suddenly appeared online showing Diddy with a young girl. In the clip, she calls him Papa Combs, and he kisses her on the cheek before turning to the camera, saying that he had adopted her. He even mentioned getting permission from her mother and compared himself to other celebrities known for adopting children.
Yes, it was breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. I want you to tell them the story about how I adopted you.
At first, everyone believed it was real. The video went viral within hours. Fans filled the comments congratulating Diddy, praising him for his kindness, and assuming this was an official adoption announcement. For a moment, it looked like Diddy had just added another member to the Combs family. But soon after, people started asking questions, and the confusion only grew. Where was the paperwork? Why were there no court filings or public adoption records? Nothing official ever surfaced, and suddenly, that wholesome moment started to look a lot more mysterious. So here's the question everyone's still asking. Why didn't Ava ever show up in later family photos or events? The mystery kept growing until September 2024, when TMZ dropped a report that changed everything. According to them, Diddy had not legally adopted Ava Baron at all. People close to the Combs family said the viral clip was actually just a skit, something playful and staged for fun. They explained that Ava was a close friend of Diddy's twin daughters, not an official member of the family, and the whole adoption moment was simply for laughs. But even with that explanation, the confusion didn't fade. As for Ava's current situation, not much is known. She hasn't been seen in any new videos or public events, and neither she nor her family has made any official statements. Most believe she's living quietly, away from the spotlight. Still, that original video keeps resurfacing online, continuing to spark debates and curiosity. People can't stop wondering, why did Diddy frame it like an adoption if it wasn't real? Why share such a serious moment publicly only for it to be brushed off later? What was the real intention behind the video? None of those questions have ever been fully answered. And once again, Netflix stayed silent. The whole Ava Baron situation, the announcement, the misunderstanding, the confusion, and the later clarification was completely left out of the documentary. Maybe because there was no legal adoption to verify, or maybe because it was just too unclear, too easy to misread, and too risky to include. But when you step back and look at all of it, the skipped stories, the controversies, the whispers, you start to see how much remains outside the edges of 50 Cent's Netflix documentary. The full truth of Diddy's world is layered, messy, and still unfolding. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment with your thoughts, because this story is far from over, and you won't want to miss what comes next.